Oh man.
Hey guys, Engineer Wannabe here. Today we're gonna be having a bit of a fun show. I think fun chat. Um, my Wi-Fi is being a bit odd. I don't know if you're seeing me glitch out a bit, Toran, but um, yeah, hopefully that gets all sorted out. Sorry if I am a little skippy, but anyway, guys, I hope you're doing really well. It's been a long week for me, and I'm glad that it's over. I had to work today, so I'm glad it's over. Torin, how are you, man?
Good. Tired. I just raced home from a mountain bike excursion. So
Yeah,
I just picked up a new mountain bike. Well, new to me, but it's extremely hard to find ones in Ontario because of the pandemic. So I
yeah,
jumped on one today, and my brother and I just hit a local trail. So it was good. And you're kind of lagging out with your internet.
sorry, glitched out.
There you go.
No,
You're back.
I'm back. Okay, good. Okay, I think the Wi-Fi will be okay now. I hope. Um, yeah, you were saying you were having issues finding a mountain bike, but you got one? Or
Yeah. Yeah. The
yeah.
past 2 weeks in a row, I had one lined up like on Kijiji or like on a mountain bike forum, and these were people in Toronto. And then the day before or like the day of, they would just ghost me and they like wouldn't complete the sale. So
No,
it was a
no.
little frustrating. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sorry to hear that. Um, well, let's start with a wrist check. What's on your wrist today?
Yeah. I'm wearing um, kind of my beater watch. This is my half metal G Shock here.
Nice.
Yeah, it's got the negative display, so it's a little hard to see, but I like that it's metal.
Yeah, that is a really nice one. That's probably my favorite metal G-Shock. I like the blue coating.
Me
Um,
too. I've had the full metal one before, the silver, and it was just a little too flashy, surprisingly, for me.
oh, really? It is all polished, right? The silver one too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so on my wrist, I have the Speedy today. I know it's Seiko
Oh, wow.
Saturday, but
Nice.
yeah, I put on the Hesalite Speedy. I'll be talking about the Speedy today as well when we're talking about our watch pet peeves. And guys, remember before we get started, I like to mention that we are, just chatting. We are not doing like this in-depth analysis or anything. So we could be wrong in some of the things that we say, and if so, let us know, and we'll address it in the next live stream. But hey, we're just having a bit of fun chatting. So let's say hi to everyone in the live chat. Let us know what you're wearing as well, guys. Got the desk diver first. Good to see you, man. Thanks for joining. And Andy coming in second. Is already on one of the pet peeves here. Power reserve on automatic watches. Actually, gonna talk about that. Joe, good to see you, man. Justin, how are you? Hey, Sanjay, good to see you as well. Haha. Yeah, that wasn't funny. uh, Bill, good to see you as well, man. Justin, I don't know if I said hi. I think I did. Um, Bruno, hey, man. Wilson, good to see you as well. Sam's here as well. Good to see you, man. Hope you're doing well. Let's see. Luke, hey, Luke, good to see you. It's nice chatting with you last week. Um, Luke is wearing oh, no, I don't think he's actually wearing a G Shock, but I think he's appreciating the G Shock. Rubber band is super comfy. Yeah.
Nice. Thanks for the
Bobby's
shout out.
here. Hey, Bobby. Bobby was wearing his Snoopy last I saw. I don't know if he's
Okay.
changed it up. Bruno is wearing his Oleg and Weiss P101. Very cool. Oh, Wilson's wearing the big gun, the root beer. Really nice. That's probably one of my favorite Rolexes. So good choice, man. Oh, nice. Joe's wearing his Doppel Chrono. That's his new pickup.
Nice.
Um, really, really cool piece. Okay, we're getting some pet peeves. Guys, remember to put them back in when we come back to that topic. Or like dope El Chrono. That's funny. Mail and links. That's another good one.
Mm-hmm.
Amin's here as well. Good to see you, Mr. LTE. Hey man, good to see you. Luke is wearing his custom G-Shock build. Oh, based on the DW 5000 SL. Very nice. And Justin's wearing a Santos. Very cool. All right. Okay. So we're waiting on Brandon. I'm not sure if he'll come in, but we'll get started and see how it goes. Okay. I kind of thought of this today. It's been, like I mentioned before, it's been a really hectic week, and we really haven't had much chance to think about it. I don't think Toran has had any time to think about
No.
about any pet peeves that he might have. But while we chat about it, maybe he'll think of something. And I have a few web pages picked out, so I'll share with you Toran, and everyone in the chat what I was thinking of when it comes to pet peeves. Design pet peeves. So this isn't specifically supposed to be pet peeves that are, defects. Like say misaligned chaptering. That's a defect, and that would be a pet peeve as well. But this is more like something that's not considered a defect, but it is a pet peeve. And I think the idea kind of came into my head because last week on Watch Soup we talked about signatures that are not the most loved signatures that brands have, like Omega and the SMP helium escape valve, things like that. That was we were talking about it based on Pete from Not So Obvious Watches. He did a video. This is kind of a riff on that. So guys, check out Pete's video. It was excellent. And check out Watch Soup from last week. That was a lot of fun to do too. Toran was there last week. But anyway, let's get into my pet peeves. I have 4 of them picked out. Toran, feel free to jump in whenever if you want to. We'll go through one. We'll comment on it and maybe see what the chat thinks as well.
Sure.
I think the hottest one. Let's start with an easy one. Display case back on undecorated watches. I know Amin's in the chat, and I kind of take Amin's stance as well here. But the pet peeve, let's say, is why put a display case back on a movement that is ugly, undecorated, really unrefined? Something like, say, the Tudor Black Bay 58. It has an undecorated movement, the MT 5402, and it's got a display case back. We'll move through this quickly because, I mean, it's been talked about ad nauseum, right? So one major thing is that the fact that there is a display case back. I kind of understand this. This is not technically a pet peeve of mine. I get it. Unless, of course, there is an... Oh, hey, Brandon's here. Brandon!
Hello.
Hey, man. So good to see you.
You too. You too.
It's been so long, and I was super excited to see that that you were going to come on. So
yes, it's good to be here.
Man, it's really good to see you. How are you doing, man?
Not too bad. Not too bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been working on getting my YouTube channel up and dealing with copyright stuff with music and
really?
Yeah. So waiting on that dispute to get settled, but hopefully that should be up soon. But yeah, I'm doing all right.
Yeah. So did you post the video and then it got pulled down or something, or did
no? So it was during the upload that I think YouTube has like an auditory system that basically screens through things.
Yeah.
And picked up my buddy's music who I was using, and we had an agreement, but he'd given it to basically a music aggregator who goes and kind of gets all of that like copyrighted. And they just couldn't do anything on their end. So we need to wait till it like goes through YouTube system.
Okay.
Which is just a nuisance.
Yeah. Well, hopefully it'll be settled soon though. Really, really looking forward to seeing that video. The Aquaterra, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice.
Oh, nice.
What's on your wrist?
The Aquaterra. Yeah.
Nice. I had a feeling, but
yeah.
Just to recap, I'm wearing the Speedy, so we're Omega buddies.
Nice.
And Toran's wearing his G-Shock medal.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah. But yeah, so I just finished introducing the topic, so to speak. We're just kind of riffing on a video that we talked about in last week's Watch Soup. It's going to be on pet peeves, which is not necessarily defects in a watch, like a misaligned case, misaligned chaptering or anything. It's actually something that is functional, something that is a design choice that is a pet peeve that we don't like.
Okay.
Yeah, so the first one we were going to talk about is the Tudor Black Bay 58 and the display case back on the undecorated movement. Now, I was saying this isn't really a pet peeve of mine, but it was something that came up recently, and so I thought we'd quickly touch on it. I do have a picture here, or I thought I did. Let me pull that up. Tudor. Oh, no, it's just a website. Let's see. Black Bay 58. So, I mean, there's a lot of Seikos that do this too. The 6R 35, 6R 15, the 4R 35. Quite a few of my watches have this. I'm not going to see it in that one, am I? Have this issue or pet peeve, so to speak. And I get why you should be able to see them. I get why people or companies do this because if you're a new watch enthusiast, it's really nice to see this case back, and I kind of get it. Like Tudor is kind of the introduction to some people. Maybe some more affluent people. A more affluent family might get a Tudor as a starter watch, and seeing the case back is seeing the mechanical movement is really cool. And I used to make it a necessity when I was starting out. It was necessary for me to see this movement. I'm paying good money. I want to see the mechanical movement. What's the point otherwise, right? That was my my argument. So I kind of get it, but once we've kind of been in the ring for a while, so to speak, it kind of gets a little hard on the eyes, seeing a movement like that. I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on this. Would you guys consider this a con? Also considering that it adds thickness. It added like 0.9 millimeters of thickness, which is significant considering the slab side of the Tudor Black Bay 58.
Yeah. So I have thoughts on it. I don't think they did it for the enthusiast market. I don't think it has anything to do with being able to see the movement. I think it's probably to save on cost of the raw materials for the silver and the yellow gold models, because at the end of the day, it's still a Tudor.
Yeah.
So I have a feeling that's why they did it. I personally am not a fan. The Omega was my first luxury watch, and I was kind of in that same mindset of, I want to see the movement because, like, why else am I spending this much money? But I think after that, as soon as I experienced the Black Bay 58, it didn't bother me at all, and I don't think it's something that would bother me in the future unless it's say like chronograph movement where there is something to really look at and enjoy. I really don't think there's any need for a see-through case back, and I think it can be put to much better use with like a nice engraving or something.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, 100%. Toran, any thoughts?
Yeah, personally, I don't mind it other than the point you already brought up if it adds thickness. The example I can think of is I haven't actually owned a Speedy, but I've owned a Zin 103, and I've owned both the Sapphire Sandwich and the Hesselite version. And the Hesselite version has a closed case back, and the wearing experience was night and day. Like the Sapphire Sandwich was 16.5 millimeters, and it was really top heavy. And then without the see-through case back of the Hesselite, it wore like, it felt like it was like a 14 millimeter watch, respectively. So
Yeah.
Other than that, yeah. I mean, technically, if it's a diver, I think maybe it's not like there's a point of failure having a sapphire in case
Yeah.
of like shatters or something, as opposed to like having a nice screwed in case back with like extra gaskets and stuff. So, but I mean, I don't really dive with my watches, so I don't really care that much.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair. And yeah, this was just one of those things. I really couldn't care less, except again for the thickness. The thickness is a big factor for me. But yeah, it's a quick and easy one. So we'll jump into the chat, see what everyone thinks. Say hi to any new arrivals, because I think there are a few. Let's see. Penny's here. Good to see you, Penny. Thanks for joining us. And let's see. They did a display case back just to check that box. That's a good point. Brandon made a really good point too. When they are saving quite a bit of money with especially the gold version, they're saving a ton of material money. Which really, once you're charging $18,000, I feel like
it's already overpriced.
Yeah. Yeah. Bobby's happy to see you, Brandon. Chaz, good to see you, man. Nice to see you. Last night, I caught half the stream. I didn't catch it live though, but I was surprised to see you there. It was nice. Let's see. A desk diver, generally I agree, but I think a new collectors kind of enjoy them. I used to love looking at my 7S26 on my SNK. I didn't know it wasn't worth looking at. Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough.
I agree. Especially, I mean, it makes a lot of sense in the beginner watches, which is why I kind of gave Tudor the benefit of the doubt here, saying maybe an affluent family, an affluent person might start with a Tudor, and he would like to see the inner workings of a watch. I know when I started with the watch hobby, I really enjoyed skeleton watches. Now I can't stand them. I can't stand skeleton dialed watches. So yeah, I even bought a Kenneth Cole, awful a skeleton dialed watch.
We've been there. We've all been there.
Yeah.
It was fun while it lasted. But
I feel like a lot of enthusiasts go through that roller coaster experience with open heart watches too.
Yes.
It's like initially, oh, this is cool to look at. And then as soon as you learn anything, you're just like, I just don't want to see this.
Yeah. How do you tell the time? This is not worth it. So let's keep going here. Sorry, non-matching date wheel versus dial. That's a good point. It looks like Sam brought that up earlier. Sam is saying, even as a new watch enthusiast, I would be more thrilled looking at a Seiko Presage cocktail time case back over the Tudor movement. I agree because there is quite a bit of stuff to see with a 6R35, maybe even a 4R movement. There's like the striping on the rotor and things like that you can kind of appreciate a bit more than just a bead blasted finish on the Tudor. Young Excellency, good to see you, man. Cheers from Atlantic Canada, stopping to say hello before mowing the lawn. Cool. Enjoy. Don't wear a mechanical watch. That's a funny story. The reason why I don't wear a mechanical watch while mowing the lawn now is because I had a power reserve watch, a power reserve indicator watch on the dial. So we'll jump onto that. I had my Grand Seiko, it wasn't the Snowflake, it was one of the Grand Seiko's GMT spring drive with a power reserve indicator on the dial. And I had just put it on, so it wasn't fully wound up. It was at maybe a quarter wind on the power reserve indicator. I grabbed the lawnmower, I mowed like a quarter of the lawn, not very much, and it was at full wind. And I was thinking, whoa, what is going on? How did this get wound up so quickly? I mean, I was just pushing the mower. And it appeared the vibrations from the mower was actually winding the watch. And I was thinking, over time that would actually cause wear that is unnecessary wear. So which is why I don't wear anything mechanical while mowing the lawn. But hey, if I didn't see a power reserve. If I didn't have a power reserve indicator on my dial, I wouldn't have known that, and I would be completely ignorant to the fact. I mean, maybe it wouldn't cause that much wear, but I know there's a clutch in there that's slipping with automatic watches.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what kind of forces are going to be in there, even with the manual wound watches. If there's that much vibration going through your body into the watch. But that's the next. Let's pull up this picture here. That's the next pet peeve. That's not really my pet peeve because I actually like power reserve indicators, even on automatic watches. So we'll kind of blow through this too, see what you guys think about it. This of course is my watch, the Snowflake when I used to have it, and that is Paddington the dog, because I love Paddington Bear and I named my dog Paddington. But yeah, what do you guys think of power reserve indicator on the dial?
Toran, do you want to take this one first?
Sure. I mean, it's one of my favorite complications, so I don't really dislike it.
Yeah.
The only way I would, I think, is if it's like some watches, like there's a Grand Seiko, and Sanjay's going to know the model because you always do. But I think there's like one that's like a spring drive chronograph that has like chronograph subdials, and then it has a power reserve indicator in there somewhere.
Yeah.
And to me, if it like clutters the dial, then I'm not a huge fan. But in general, like if it's a standard Grand Seiko, or there's some other watches that do it well, even like an Orient Triton, I think they discontinued it. I loved seeing it on that watch. It was kind of close to the 1 and 2 o'clock position. And yeah, I really enjoy it. I just like, even if it's an automatic watch, it's just kind of nice to know how much juice is left, before you have to consider manually winding it or something.
Yeah. I personally would prefer that if there was a power reserve, it was on the back. I will say, though, the first watch that really made me kind of rethink that was the Grand Seiko SBGK 005. I think it was the debut of the new 9S hand-wand movement, and it's amazing. It's got, I think, a running seconds at 3 and then a power reserve at 9.
Yep.
But just the balance there seemed to work a lot better than a lot of the other placements that I've seen them do. So,
yeah, Toran was also talking about one of the SBGC models, the SBGC 201, 203. Those are really, really cluttered dials, but I do love them. There's a beauty about it, about that clutteredness. I really like a lot of the dials that Grand Seiko do, even if they're cluttered. But Brandon, that SVGK 005 is probably one of my favorites. It's I kick myself for not picking one up.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Blue Mount Iwate dials are really rare, and they are really vibrant and beautiful to look at. I don't know if you noticed, but it's actually not that symmetrical when you take a closer look at the dial.
Yes, the pinions of the second subdial and the power reserve indicator are not at symmetrical points at all. Yeah. And I think it's because of the fact that the power reserve indicator as a whole doesn't do a full revolution.
Yeah.
So it just wouldn't make sense for them to be in the same spot.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is the type of thing that if you really stared at it too long, you could make that annoy you too.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, power reserves for me are, like I mentioned, not a problem. I like to see them because I like rotating my watches, and it's good to know. I mean, it does cause some anxiety, I guess, knowing that my watch is about to die, and it may actually sway me into wearing a watch that's about to die, than picking up the watch I want to wear. I actually want to wear that day. So again, first world problem, but really. I guess it can be a really bad thing, cause that anxiety. And I always say wear what you want to wear on that day. Time is short, so that can actually work against that. So positives and negatives for a power reserve on the dial. Let's jump in the chat again. It's a lot of people saying hi to each other. Mezzanine. Good to see you, man. Thanks for joining us. Ali Kashias Jr. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Peace, Sanjay. Just grabbed the new SPB 239. I can't afford the Black Bay 58, so this will do for now. Hey, keep at it, man. You will be able to. SPB 239. I'm not familiar with that one actually. Is that one of the new divers with the cloth, like the really cool woven, like a kimono woven NATO strap? I'm not sure. Maybe it's the. Anyway, we'll look it up later. But congrats on the pickup, man. Honestly, I don't have pet peeve per se. The whole package works. If the whole package works, then I tend to overlook items that I would pick out in other watches. Yeah. And a pet peeve is kind of an interesting category even, right? It's like a thing that annoys you, but you're glad that it annoys you, kind of like a pet peeve. Or otherwise it would just be a peeve, right? Oh, that annoys me. I'm done with it. But maybe I'm overthinking that one.
You took that to another level. Thanks.
Yeah. I was going to say the Seiko that was mentioned earlier is one of the 62 MAS models, one of the new ones. It's the one with the gilt markers and text. It comes on a NATO as opposed to the previous one that came on the strap. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I suspected it was. That NATO is so cool. I got to see it in person. It's exquisite. It's really.
Well, what's the deal with it? Like, what's different about it?
It's like a special traditional Japanese kimono weaving technique, I guess. Okay. And you can really tell it's stiff at first. I'm sure it breaks in over time, but there's like a quality that oozes out from that strap.
Yeah.
At least my short time handling it, I was really impressed. And I can understand the premium that they're asking for it, because they charge as much as a bracelet, model. And I totally get it. I wouldn't hesitate to buy one of those.
Congrats on that watch, because that's a very cool piece.
It is. It's
a really nice Seiko.
Yeah. Good job, man. Let's see. Why did GS go for power reserve? Well, for spring drives, but not automatics. I have a feeling it's more to do with what they kind of went with when it comes to the layout that they decided on at first, and they kind of stuck with that layout because every spring drive, every SBGA has a power reserve. So the SBGA models are three-handers with a power reserve, and the power reserve could be however they orient it, but it's basically the same movement, and because it's the same movement, it's always going to be there. Even the GMTs, it's just a variant of that same movement. And so I guess because they sank those costs into that model or that design layout, I think they just ran with it. So sorry, I'm a little low energy, guys. It's been a long day, long week. Okay, Thomas Chan, good to see you as well, man. And yeah, let's keep going. Let's keep going. Unless if you guys want to throw in one of your pet peeves into the mix. Do you guys have anything to go on? I know it was super short notice.
Nothing that I can think of today. No.
Yeah.
I thought of a couple, but I mean they're minor.
Yeah.
I think like one, because if you're like a watch, like you have a big collection, like I don't really like watches that come with huge like watch boxes, like a huge package, like a Speedmaster briefcase, or I think the worst one I had, and it was early in my collecting, but I got this limited edition Alpina Star Timer that came with a huge box and a model like airplane in it. And the thing was like probably 10 pounds. Like the box was just ridiculous, and it had like this huge manual, and like it was like a tabletop like photograph version of a star timer. Like, I don't know. It was really over the top. The presentation was nice, but one, if you have a large collection, like you got to store all these boxes.
Yeah.
And two, if you decide to move that piece, like, and you want to ship it, like, you're going to pay more in shipping than the watch is worth in some instances, right? So, like, I had to sell it, but I did like a face-to-face transaction because, like, I didn't want to get killed on the shipping cost.
Yeah, that's a good point. I hadn't even considered shipping it yet, but yeah, big boxes are not fun.
Omega is definitely an offender there. They do massive, unnecessary boxes.
And like, I think like micro brands really stand out in innovating in that way too, because I feel like with certain micro brands, not only do you get a lot in terms of specs and like different designs, but their packaging is very functional. Most of them come with like a watch roll, or like, you know, they're like very compact, or like there's something that you would actually use to travel with. Like, so it's nice in that sense. You're not only just getting the watch, you're getting a way to travel with other watches.
Yeah. Omega actually, with the new Speedmaster, trimmed down the size of the box. Now it's down to like a size of one of, say, the Aquaterra boxes, which is still huge.
It's still a big wooden box, right?
Yeah. You don't get the wooden box. You get kind of like this Pelican case look-alike.
Oh, okay.
And it's, you know, it's like this big. So it's like a miniature box. Before it was like a full briefcase, but yeah, it's nice that they're toning down. It's not nice that they took out all the extras, but it's a different story. Yeah, that's a good point, Toran. I do agree with that. Okay, moving on to something that is actually one of my biggest pet peeves is inappropriately sized hands. I don't know if you guys have experience with any of this, but let me bring up a picture of a watch that I had. That it was very, very minor, but it actually was. It wasn't a deal breaker, but it really irked me. So this is the Longines Heritage Sector Dial, and I feel this watch has inappropriately sized hands. To be clear, or to be precise, I would say that the hour hand is ever so slightly too long.
Yeah.
Zoom in here. It's ever so slightly too long, and the minute hand could have been a bit longer if this minute track was pushed out. There's a bit of parallax here. So it looks like the minute hand reaches all the way. It kind of ever so slightly does, but I think it could have been ever so slightly longer. And this kind of spoiled the watch a bit for me, because the hour hand and the minute hand were too close in size, and it caused every once in a while it would be difficult to read the time. But this is a big problem for me. If there is inappropriately sized hands in a watch, it causes me to stay awake at night. But I don't know, do you guys have any watches that have had that issue?
So I've heard those complaints levied against a lot of watches I love, just in general. A lot of, I don't know what like the right way to say this is, but I like old head watch collecting just do not like Tudor snowflake hands. They just hate them. Everyone's just yelling about how big and obnoxious and atrocious they are, and I love them. Like, for some reason, especially on the Black Bay 36, to me, there's something so whimsical about the fact that they are a little chunky and maybe just a bit too big. But I find them very enjoyable.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. I think there's a lot that can be done with sizing hands differently, but the length issue that you pointed out, especially on a sector dial, is infuriating. When that's meant to kind of help you read the time better, it's completely counterintuitive to not have those hands meet up at the right point on the sectors. So, yeah.
And it's such a small, by such a small amount would they overshoot or undershoot, but it still causes a bit of grief for me. But yeah, good point with the snowflake hands. I actually like the snowflake hands, and up until this point didn't consider thickness of hands. So I guess the snowflake hands would be thicker rather than lengthwise having an issue there. But
I think the problem was most prominent on the chronographs, because people are saying there's a lot of times when those big snowflake hands are just going to be covering up the subdials and not going to be able to use it. So
I get that with the chronograph. I don't mind it on the
divers.
Yeah. It makes sense. I mean, it's an easy way to kind of differentiate the hands. This was actually one of the topics from last week's Watch Soup, and the guy whose video we were kind of commenting on, he had said that Tudor snowflake hands are a solution that's kind of like that's kind of like discreet, like a punch to the face, and as elegant as a giraffe on skates. So I thought that was a really funny comment. And, it kind of is true. It really does help differentiate the time, but it's not a very elegant solution. That said, they have their own charm as well. So I really don't mind snowflake hands.
Yeah.
Toran, any thoughts on inappropriately sized hands?
Nothing really jumps out for watches I've owned, other than I've had some watches where the seconds hand were too short. Like, I like to be able to get, a very accurate read on when it's like, I like it when it's kind of to the very periphery of a dial where it kind of goes over the running minute track or whatever. But some watches I've seen where they've truncated the seconds hand a little too much, in my opinion.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I like to have long seconds hands as well, because I am one of those guys who pulls the crown right at 60, make sure the minute hand is lined up right at the minute, so that when the seconds hand does hit 60 every time, the minute hand has to be on the minute index, or it would drive me up the wall. If during the day I see that the minute hand at 60 is not on the minute index, I will reset the watch just to get it right. So it becomes an issue. Let's go into the chat here. Bobby was saying that high polished cases can seem to be a bit of a downer for him. I agree. An exception to that rule for me would be the SBGM 221. That is a fully high polished Grand Seiko case. It's the GMT that's super popular. But even though it's high polished, it's got many facets. So it can appear to have different finishes, even though it does only just have the one high polished Zaratsu finish. Joe was saying that the HEV helium escape valve is a big pet peeve for him. It was for me. I kind of grew to like it. Bruno's saying another pet peeve is the bezel with a 50-50 day-night colorway, but it's not a 24-hour bezel. Yeah, I get it. I like it when they kind of change the color on the 15 minutes, in a dive time bezel, so that you can, at a quick glance, see how much time has elapsed. But if it's like a half and there's no point, then...
How do you like how Seiko looms their Marine Master? So it's only like, I think 20 minutes that's like the bezel is loomed and not the rest.
Yeah. I mean, I don't mind it. I see the point, right? It's to, at a glance, see how much time has elapsed on your dive. And once the first 20 minutes have passed, you probably need to resurface. So,
I don't know. I find it too asymmetrical for me, but...
Yeah. I like asymmetry. When it's done right, I really like asymmetry, which is why I like the Grand Seiko Power Reserve indicators. Just a touch of chaos in an orderly world. Let's see. Sam was saying at one point I wanted the FC Healy just for the race car or boats.
Right.
T-Rex.
Yeah, Battery Constant and Alpina, they tend to do a lot of like models when you buy their watches, right?
Yeah.
It's like an added bonus. But again, it's a perspective, because that also means the package is going to be a lot larger.
Is Alpina owned by Citizen Group as well, or is that a different company?
It's a good quote. I used to know.
Yeah.
I feel like they might be owned by Federic Constant, and then is Federic Constant part of a Citizen Group?
Yeah, if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken, they are. Yeah. Mezzanine says saw the new black dial version today, quite nice. Not sure which watch you're talking about, buddy. Oh, see, I do that. I shouldn't say buddy because I don't know how old you are, and if you're way older than I am, I really shouldn't be disrespecting you that way. Navy Blue Monster. I don't like the cutoff 6 more than the long hands. I don't mind cutoff indices. I think he's referring to the
Longines, yeah.
the Longines. Yeah, I don't mind that 6 being cut off.
So I actually thought I had a problem with cutoff indices until I saw Stova's recent Marine 36 hand wound with Roman numerals on the dial, and they basically have a shrunken 6, whereas on the Arabic numeral dial they've left it as just like a hash mark, and it irks me. Like, I would have much rather they just cut into the number than like shrunken that one numeral down on a dial, but it just seems to throw the entire thing out of whack for me. I still want one, but I also have a problem. So
I can picture that. I haven't seen it, but I can picture that being a bit of an ugly thing. Jose Rebello, the Raqueta Zero is the epitome of TRX. Epitome. Yeah, I do not know that one, but I believe you. Six Killer, good to see you, man. If they're gonna cut the number down at that point, why not just get rid of it altogether instead of leaving a small reminder of what was there? I think if they got rid of it, there would be like a weird emptiness there. What else could they put there? I mean,
they could just put a baton marker or something.
Yeah, you think so?
I think so. In that case, because it's truncated so much, like you couldn't even identify it as a 6, like a numeral 6, right?
Yeah. No, baton would work there. I think you're right. Yeah. Let's see. Bill, watches that use nearly identical minute and second hands. Yeah. See, that's kind of one of the problems here with these this sector dial as well. It's identical. So if there is not enough disparity between the lengths, it can become a nightmare to tell the time.
Yeah.
Caliber White QG, good to see you, man. Yes, don't mind the snowflake hands in general, but it can be irritating when the big snowflake hand covers a subdial in one of the Tudor chronos. Yep. BDev, another pet peeve, Quartz second hand not hitting the indices. Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Does that bug you guys?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It does, because for me, like my introduction into Quartz was like a lot of like entry level Swiss watches like Tissot, and those like ronda movements, they don't like regulate the hands at all in terms of like hitting the markers, I find. And then I got like a cheap Citizen, and like 99% of the time it was like hitting the marker. So it's like the Japanese Quartz movements, in my experience, have been a lot better, and some of them are bang on, like the higher end ones, right? Like Grand Seiko or the Citizen signature line or something like that.
Yeah.
But like you can get like Swiss Quartz watches that's like Tag or Tissot, and they're all over the map.
Yeah. What your SBGN 003, right? Or is it 5?
Yeah, 003.
003. That one, does it hit all the markers like around the dial, or yeah? Because I've had quite a few 9F movements, and there are, I think most of them, if not all of them, have had a few sections of the dial where they don't hit the minute marks or the second marks, and I personally don't mind it. It used to bug me a lot, but the reason it doesn't mind it is Clayton from the Watchdog podcast. He mentioned that the fact that it doesn't hit the marks is a sign that there was some personal touch to it. There was some watchmaker assembly, because it's almost impossible to get that seconds hand to hit every marker around the dial because of how much precision it takes. And so if it hits every single marker, chances are it's more mechanically finished. The whole thing is mechanically done, kind of like laser kind of not regulated, but yeah, so mechanically put together. And so because of that, it hits every mark. But when there's a watchmaker who might be assembling the watch, chances are it's going to miss the mark in a few places. And it has something to do with the printing of the dial, maybe the way that, I don't think it's the way the hands are placed, but yeah, because of that, there's a bit of idiosyncrasy when it hits the marks. I don't mind it if it's around 5 seconds, somewhere around the dial where it does miss the mark a bit, and it's easy to attribute that to parallax as well. So I don't know if that might sway your thinking. Now the other hand is the Tissot PRX, right? The PRX, we know it's fully mechanically assembled, but they don't even care enough to put the seconds hand, make it hit the markers. And there's that level of Swiss Ronda movement, which they just put everything together and kind of don't really care, and that's not okay for sure.
I feel like it kind of comes down to priorities, the same way that it exists when it comes to car manufacturers. Just like if you're going to look at something like a Tesla, like, sorry for the Tesla owners here, but I've heard that they have like a lot of build quality problems. But like they are not a luxury car manufacturer. They're basically like a tech company. So that is why their focus is there. Then if you look at BMW, their focus is on making the car drive well, but like that engine is going to break down all the time. And I feel like it's the same thing here. I don't know if the Swiss just don't care as much about Quartz, which would make sense given their history with Quartz, and the Japanese take a lot more pride in it. So
yeah, they take pride because they basically destroyed so many Swiss companies.
They annihilated the Swiss.
Yeah, and it's really cool to see that level of pride and craftsmanship taken when they make a Quartz movement watch as well. That they actually care about what they're putting out and not making it a more affordable, cheap alternative.
Yeah.
So you can really tell it nowadays, like recently when Seiko's putting out, or Grand Seiko's putting out these really high-end Quartz watches that cost, well above, say, even $5,000-$6,000. They're doing that, and they wear it as a badge of honor. They don't say, hey, this is just a Quartz movement. This is the Quartz movement. This is the Quartz movement that you need. So yeah, very interesting. I'm not sure how it'll be in around 5 years, because I used to be one of the guys who didn't like Quartz, but that kind of went out of me pretty quickly because I really appreciate Spring Drive and also 9F and the stuff that Citizen's doing.
Sorry, I was just saying, I feel like it's interesting to see Cartier release that solar tank, because to me, at least, solar is another one of those like mechanisms of powering a watch that kind of has that negative stigma towards it. Like when I think solar, I think like my grandpa's Citizen. And to see Cartier put that in like the tank, like that is their signature watch, like felt like a big deal. And I don't know how that's going to age, but I will say that every single time I look at the watch, it seems more and more appealing, especially if it's not something that you're going to wear all the time. Like it just works. So, yeah.
And, capacitor is probably going to last you 16, 17 years.
Yeah.
At which point you'll need to service it anyway.
Yeah.
And I think at that point, if the solar cells kind of die, you're probably not going to be able to retain, say, the dial. They'll have to put in a new dial or something for you. But 16, 17 years at a really good price too. Those solar Cartier tanks are very fairly priced.
Are you one of those people who like it would bother if they replaced your original dial?
I don't know yet. I don't.
Okay.
I feel like I haven't been exposed to a watch for long enough to know if I'd be attached
You're a
to a
serial
dial.
flipper.
Yeah, I am. I've
You
calmed
do.
down. Hey, it's been what, 25 days since I bought a watch. How cool is that?
You have to count by the day. Like, do you have a
don't?
sign in the house saying this many days since the last catastrophic event to my bank balance?
Yeah, I count the days. It's quite an achievement for me to not have done anything to my collection that at least added to my collection in 25 days.
Speaking of which, I have not been able to stop staring at the Speedy on your wrist.
Oh,
How
really?
is that watch treating you? The new bracelet looks so much nicer than the previous one.
Yeah, it is really, really nice. The bracelet makes it wearable for me, and also a lot of the different. I've spoken about this a lot, but a lot of the different adjustments they made, like this bezel, used to sit a bit more proud in the older models.
Yeah.
They've shrunken the bezel a bit so it doesn't catch on sleeves and things like that. So, and it's a bit thinner.
Yeah, that case back looks a bit smaller too, right?
I'm not sure about that one. It might be, but
They still remind you 20 times that it's been to the moon on the case back.
yeah, in like this horrible font too, really ugly, thick.
Yeah,
all caps. I don't. They should probably put something else there. But I mean, the engraving here or this case back is a bit more higher quality than the previous gen. So shorter lug to lug, all these things, kind of help.
And remind me again, does that clasp have a quick adjust at all?
Just one.
Okay.
Same as the old Speedy, just one quick adjust.
Okay.
Very nominal, really. I don't know if you can see it there. But...
Yeah.
I figured you might want to talk about the Speedy because we've spoken about the Speedy when I had the FOIS, Brandon, you and I, because you were considering it, you were concerned about it not fitting, our wrist. We have the same wrist size, and I think the FOIS kind of made it a bit tougher. We can actually jump onto the FOIS because that was one of the next pet peeves that I was going to talk about. So let's go into that. Let's see. Here we go. So the next pet peeve that actually does affect me is the milky ring on a sapphire crystal with a Speedmaster. I don't know how it affects you guys, but it really bugs me. So this it's less exaggerated, I think, on the FYS, but in the Speedy, the older Speedy, especially previous gen, there was a clarity issue with the sapphire crystals and the way they box it, with the way they dome it. It causes a bit of light. What would you call it? Light distortion, light refraction.
Yeah,
it leaves a milky ring around the crystal, and that really bugs me. And it's one of the reasons why, or it's the reason why I went with the Heslite here, because the clarity is just absolutely amazing with the Heslite. And once you resign to having to be a bit more ginger with the crystal, knowing that you probably can't bang it on a couple of things, and you're gonna leave marks, but if you're okay with buffing it out every once in a while, I think it allows for you to really enjoy the clarity of this crystal. But I know for a lot of people, it's not worth it. The heartache of having a scratch on the crystal is not worth it. People would much rather have that milky ring, and some people don't even care about the milky ring. It's there, and they kind of own it. But for me, I really cannot do that milky ring anymore. I used to be indifferent, but once I got this Heslite, it's game over. Well, what do you guys think? Is that something that you would consider if you saw the milky ring around the sapphire crystal Speedy?
It's not something that bothers me, but that's also because I'm not like a big Speedy guy. So I haven't lived long term with a speedy at all. I will say it's something that like I think to an extent it's even there on like the Black Bay 58 just because of the way the crystal is domed. But like it doesn't bother me. It just feels like a characteristic of the watch and the way it reflects light. I think the reason why it's more apparent with the speedy is because you have a direct comparison there.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So yeah.
Yeah, because I was holding the two speedies side by side, and
Yeah.
I was thinking, oh, that Milky Ring is really bugging me. But maybe if I just saw the speedy, which with the FOIS, I just saw the FOIS, and I was okay
Yeah.
with it when I bought that. So, yeah, that's a really good point. It's probably the fact that I had it side by side.
Yeah.
Toran, any thoughts?
I mean, I'll echo what Brandon said. Like for me, I've never owned a Speedmaster, so I don't feel like I can weigh in too much on that. But like, if we're going to extrapolate from that in general, I have a pet peeve with some watches where it's like it's very reflective, or there's not a good anti-reflective treatment on it. I like my watches to be very legible.
Yeah. Let's jump into the chat. Jay is here. Hey man, good to see you out there trying on some Langas. They're very cool. Justin is saying Ajay is out there living the life of opulence and Langas. That's an acceptable excuse. Absolutely, it is. How were the Langas? It was hard not to buy the Saxonia or the Richard Langa right then and there. Wow. That would not be an impulsive purchase for me. But hey, that's really cool, man. I do like the Saxonia. I actually like the what was it, the honey gold really ultra thin one.
Yeah.
It's really nice. How's the experience with the SPP 213? Torn between it and the 143. That said, local Seiko ADs don't seem to have either. Really want to try it on. I really like it. I really like my 213. I've kind of got over the whole movement thing. I'm kind of resigned to it with the horrible delta, positional delta that I'm getting with Seiko movements. I kind of resigned to it. It's whatever, and I'm really enjoying the watch for what it is now. I've had the 413 and the 149 and the 213. I probably would pick the 213 because it's so different. A blue bezel, white dial, kind of plays like a black bezel and a silver dial in most lights. So I'd prefer that. But the gray dial of the 143 is really nice too. So yeah, you can't lose there, except in the movement. The big guy cuts the numerals off the right way. Okay. Yeah. Small seconds on a quartz watch helps with the index anxiety. That is true. Or just not have a seconds hand at all, a la Cartier.
Or have a sub-dial with a seconds hand. I find that cuts down on it a bit too.
Yeah.
Like a small seconds.
Yeah. Dennis, good to see you, man. Cheers from Ireland. He says, my pet peeve is that just because a watch has quartz, that the watchmakers assume that the customer is not interested in finishing. I'm a big fan of Citizen. Yeah. I think Grand Seiko kind of goes against that. They know that we care about finishing. Citizen, I'm not too familiar with Citizen, higher end Citizen at least. Jared, good to see you, man. That's quite all right, but thanks for joining us. Bernardo, good to see you. It's funny that the Swiss were the ones coming together in 1962 under the CEH in Neuchâtel to develop the first quartz caliber Beta 1. Ultimately sparked the quartz production race. Yeah, very true. A lot of people attribute Seiko to causing the quartz crisis, but I don't think it was just Seiko. Bobby Legs, hey man, good to see you. Thanks for joining us, and thanks for the super chat. Man, that's Really kind of you. Thanks, Rob. Watches that are not time legible, probably my biggest. So because it was its original intended purpose. Yeah, I think that's one of the reasons why people don't like leather on a dive watch. It's kind of it messes up the original intention. I don't mind it. But yeah, illegible watches is another thing. It kind of messes with the um, whole purpose. And precious metal watches that are sports watches, like the Two-Tone Explorer. I think that messes with the DNA of the watch, and so it causes people
I
to.
think it's awesome.
I
It's
love it.
so good.
I love the Two-Tone Explorer. Oh,
I'll
it's
stick
so-
with my 214270.
yeah. But yeah, people, I understand it. I get it. I can empathize. No, not empathize. I don't know the right word. I'm not empathizing. I can sympathize. Chaz, wow, thanks as well, man. Thanks for the super chat. You guys really don't have to do that. It's a pleasure to be here and to see you guys. So, Toran, I know you said you had a couple of pet peeves that you wanted to talk about. We kind of hit the hour, but we can touch on some of those as well.
I actually should dip since we're at the hour.
Oh, okay.
But
Yeah,
it was great seeing you guys, and hopefully I will see you next week.
yeah. See you.
Yeah,
Brandon.
good luck with the
Thanks for
channel,
joining
man.
us.
Catch everyone. Take care. Bye.
See ya. Yeah, Toran. What were you gonna say?
Well, we touched on the big box one. What else would I have? Yeah, put on the spot here. No, I actually did have a couple lined up, but then we talked more about it. I think we've touched on some in the chat already. I was gonna say like legibility is important.
Yeah,
It's funny because like sometimes you'll see with some people will totally like bust down a watch or like ice it out and they can't even read the time. It's like so flashy. So, I don't understand people who do that. I guess they want it as a status symbol in jewelry as
yeah.
opposed to having it more functional.
Yeah, similar to a skeleton dial too, I'd say.
Yeah.
Just in a different angle, different perspective. But yeah, Dennis was talking about having long lugs, which is so true when it comes to Longines, because even their 38.5 millimeter sector dial was wearing a bit awkwardly on my wrist because of its longer lugs. It looks like it has short lugs, but actually, it does wear big.
Yeah, that's a part of the reason I sold my Longines Spirit as well. I mean, I love that watch in terms of like it was the best finished pilot watch I've owned.
Yeah.
But I mean, the lug width was odd, and the lugs themselves were fairly long and straight. And the supplied bracelet also had big male end links, so like too many strikes against it.
Yeah, no, the Longines Spirit is a beautiful watch, and it really, really could have been a home run, but the lugs were insane. 40 millimeters and 49, I think, lug to lug, which is really, really
and then
bad.
the male end links extended it to like 52 or something.
Yeah, it was unwearable for me on the bracelet, and on the straps, the supplied straps that it came with, you'd see like an unsightly gap on the between the head of the watch and the strap. So even with the stock straps, the gap was really unsightly. I had that issue with the Railmaster too. It has really long lugs, 38.5 millimeters with long lugs. I think that one curved down a bit better, like the way the lugs kind of shaped down was really nice. So, let's see. Bill K was saying Brandon adds some great perspective. He does add some good perspective. Nomos does have really long lugs. Yeah, their 35, I guess, would wear kind of like a 39, 38.
Yeah, I really want to pick one up, but the problem is like there's no Nomos dealers in my area that I could try one on because I don't want to just buy one online and then have it not fit right. Because I feel like their 38 would fit me pretty well. Like, because their lugs are super long.
Well, there is an AD near here, so when you do come to visit, we can actually make a trip there too, because there's an almost AD near my place.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so we'll make a day out of it. But
Sweet.
anyway, guys, let's maybe start wrapping it up. Toran, do you have anything coming up this week, or anything that's come up recently?
Yeah, I recently reviewed my Helios Fairwind, and that's a
Yes.
great watch. And I'll bring it if we meet up later this month, because I think you would like it a lot. The
Yeah.
proportions and like the bracelet and the finishing are like they punch well above the price point.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw your review. It was really well done, and that watch is really tempting. It's a nice piece.
Yeah, thanks. Other than that, I mean, I'll probably review my Archimedes 39 millimeter pilot watch at some point. So
Yeah.
there'll be a review coming down the pike, and I'm still trying to figure out something to do for a 5K giveaway. So
Yeah.
stay tuned for an announcement there.
Yeah, sounds good. Oh man, I got to do the giveaway here for the hats that I have to give away. Just keep putting it
Yeah,
on.
that's smart. At least you got the hats. I gotta think of something.
Yeah. With me, I actually did a live stream with Shah Luso last Monday. You guys kind of have to check it out because he messed up and he forgot to end the stream at the end of the live. He just left the studio, so I had the stream all to myself, and I was cracking a couple of jokes, really cringeworthy jokes. So if you want to see me make a fool of myself, go check out his live stream. Tomorrow we're doing Watch Soup with Watch Chris and Bobby Legs. So you guys should come check that out too. Other than that, same old, same old. We'll see you guys next week, usual time. But yeah, it's good to see you all in the chat, guys. It really makes my week seeing you all there. Mental Plane, you came in a bit later. Good to see you, man. And I always reside. Have I always resided in Canada? No, I moved here from Sri Lanka actually. So yeah, when I was 16. So, but yeah, guys, I'll leave it on that. Thanks for joining us. Hope you all have a great week, and I'll see you. I'll see you in the Super Best Watch Friends group or wherever. All right. See you, Toran.
Yeah,
Bye,
catch
everyone.
you later. Goodbye.